On the news this morning, Anambra Information Commissioner calls on NUJ leadership to prioritize members' welfare. Stakeholders think safety call for adequate security in schools. House of Representatives demands inclusion of portfolios of ministerial nominees. Botswana president concedes election defeat, loses power after 58 years. Hello, beautiful morning to you and welcome to Breakfast News at 8. I am David Okwasile. We begin from the Jerome Udoji Secretariat, Oka, where the Anambra State Commissioner for Information, Dr. Lord Mefo, has advised the leadership of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, to work towards prioritizing the welfare of members. Addressing members of the NUJ Anambra State Credentials Committee who visited him at his office in Oka, Dr. Mefo decried the plight of journalists in Nigeria, pointing out that they are not only underappreciated, but are sometimes maligned by those in other professions, particularly politicians, who obstruct their jobs and put them in harm's way. The commissioner further assured that he will study their requests regarding the forthcoming NUJ Anambra election and make a case to the appropriate quarters, as the ministry can't do much. Earlier, the chairman of the Credentials Committee, Dr. Stanley Ononkwo, informed the commissioner of the NUJ Anambra election coming up in January 2025 and asked for the government's assistance to ensure a successful election. In a vote of thanks, a member of the group, Comrade Ebelez, lauded Dr. Mefo's numerous contributions in the field of journalism and urged him to assist them in reaching out to people. Other members of the committee present during the visit were Mr. Chris Obleri of Radio Nigeria Purity FM and the chairperson of Nigeria Association of Women Journalists, NAWOJ, Anambra State Chapter, Comrade Tochku Ifejika. The Managing Director of Anambra Broadcasting Service, ABS, Mr. Christopher Moloku, has paid a courtesy visit to the Commissioner of Power and Water Resources, Engineer Julius Chukwuemeka, in his office in Oka. Our correspondent, Kenneth Kutukwode, now reports.
Mr. Moloku, in his remark, emphasized that the visit was to familiarize with the Power and Water Resources Ministry while seeking ways to partner together, especially in the provision of power infrastructure that would enable the media house serve the Anambra State audience better and efficiently.
Considering the amount of diesel which we expend on a daily basis, we had some solar power powering maybe our MCR and our major studios. That would go a long way.
The commissioner, Engineer Chukwuemeka, who welcomed the ABS henchman, assured working with ABS to achieve its objectives.
Any project we want to embark on, we must first think of the impact of that project. Sustainability. If the project passes these two, we will not think about the last, which is the E, eco-friendliness.
The Director of News and Current Affairs, ABS, Mrs. Judy Jeff Nwabweze, the Director of Commercial Services, Mrs. Uju Ifediba, Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ Anambra State Deputy Chairman, Mrs. Ngozi Obileri, ABS Senior Editor, Mr. Abuchi Nwozo, and the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Power and Water Resources, Mr. Victor Ezekwo, were part of the visit. In Oka, it's been Kenechukwu Chukwudi for ABS News.
As part of measures that will ensure conducive environment for teaching and learning, a professor of developmental and forensic psychology, Chidozie Nwafo, has called for the integration of security education into the school curriculum, starting from kindergarten. Professor Nwafo is the head of Department of Psychology at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, made the call in Oka while speaking on security awareness, early warning and early responsive system in schools protection at the opening session of Stakeholders Forum on Security of Schools in Anambra and Training of Schools Protection Squad, SPS unit of the Nigerian Police Force. Our correspondent, Joseph Ebocha, now reports.
Professor Nwafo also advocated more media involvement in creating security awareness among people in schools.
The media in creating awareness, subtle awareness, and integrating security education into the curriculum of the school, starting from kindergarten.
the traditional ruler of Onitsha, Igwe Emeka Ashebe, represented by Chief Jude Onia, who noted that the spate of kidnapping in schools nowadays in Nigeria is becoming alarming, outlined important roles parents, government, host communities, and students will play in school security. Others who spoke during the panel discussion at the event, including the chairman of Nigerian Union of Journalists in Anambra, Dr. Odogwu Emeka Odogwu, represented by Comrade Ogende Ozemenam, representative of civil society organizations, Comrade Oke Maduforo, immigration officer Ifeanyi Okonkwo, principal of community secondary school Oko, Mrs. Ifeoma Enekwechi, and the private school proprietor, Pastor Philip Eze, made other suggestions on ways of ensuring watertight security in and around schools.
The self-school initiative is a very wonderful initiative, and it is taken up in Anambra State because of Mr. Governor's initiative to make sure that every life is secure.
In Oka, Joseph Ebocha reporting for ABS News.
Utility products made in Anambra State by the Advanced Development Solutions Initiative Multipurpose Cooperative Society have been launched in Oka. The products, which included Wonder Stove, diamond blocks, and sundry utility products, were presented to the public at the Professor Dora Akunyi Women's Development Center in Oka. Correspondent Chukwuemeka Modelem now reports.
Addressing the gathering, the National President, ADSI Multipurpose Cooperative Society, Dr. Ogochukwu Soludo, explained that they seek to harness combined communal efforts for grassroots mobilization, social transformation, and sustainable development to become a leading, formidable, functional, transformational, and impactful business-oriented mass movement for social transformation and sustainable development in the country by 2030. In their separate speeches, the Commissioner for Youth Development, Mr. Patrick Agamba, and the Special Advisor to Governor Chukwuma Soludo on Trade and Market, Chief Evarist Oba, commended the innovation the cooperative society is bringing into the system to solve numerous problems facing the country, adding that the project is in line with Governor Chukwuma Soludo's vision in building a highly skilled society that can develop unique and problem-solving products.
We emphasize teamwork, transparency, and our desire is to mirror and model good corporate governance. That's the dynamics of good corporate governance and the internal control mechanisms.
I must state that the Ministry of Youth Development is ready to partner with you in offering the youth a skills like these, which will help them to develop innovative and exportable products for economic development.
This is a very good innovation that is from Anambra. A wonderful school also from Anambra.
The occasion also featured exhibition of sundry utility products of the organization in Oka. Chukwuemeka Modelem, ABS News.
The member representing Orumba North and South Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, Princess Chinwe Nnabuife, has called on women to participate actively in politics to stop gender inequality, strengthen governance, and accelerate the nation's development. Princess Nnabuife made the call during her outreach program for women in her constituency, organized by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies in collaboration with the United Nations Women, held in Ajale in Orumba North local government area. Our correspondent, Chukwuemeka Modelem again, reports.
Which centered on advancing women's political participation and registration. The federal lawmaker commended the resilience and potentials of women in her constituency and regretted that less than 5% of women make up the National Assembly members, and advocated for election of more women into political office as it enriches the nation's democracy and empowers communities across the federation. On his part, the Director General, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, Professor Suleiman Abubakar, represented by Dr. Ibe Ezechi, disclosed that the institute is in the vanguard of the advocacy for legislative and constitutional reforms that will give women fair access to political spheres.
Let leadership, promote more inclusive policies, tackle poverty and inequality more effectively, and prioritize issues related to education, healthcare, and social justice.
Women have places in representation, even in governance.
From Ajale Chukwuemeka Modelem, ABS News.
The House of Representatives has advanced a bill to its second reading aiming to mandate the inclusion of portfolios in the nomination list for ministers and commissioners submitted by the President and state governors. Leading the debate, Okechukwu Dibiagu highlighted that attaching portfolios to nominees would allow lawmakers in the National and State Assemblies to conduct more effective and targeted scrutiny during confirmation processes. In a related development, a separate bill proposing an extension of the retirement age for health workers across Nigeria has also progressed to its second reading. The bill could bring significant changes to the healthcare workforce by retaining experienced healthcare personnel in service for extended periods. On the foreign scene, Botswana's President Mokgweetsi Masisi has considered defeat as preliminary results showed his governing party lost its parliamentary majority after nearly 6 decades in power. Former President Masisi's concession yesterday came after the final results were announced, with his Botswana Democratic Party BDP trailing in 4th place according to tallies by the Electoral Commission. The president, who was seeking a second 5-year term in Wednesday's election, said he would step aside. He congratulated the opposition on their victory and considered the election. Under the country's electoral system, the first party to take 31 of 61 seats in the legislature will be declared the winner, install its candidates as president, and form a government. The BDP has governed the diamond-rich Southern African nation since 1966 and was expected to win. The main opposition, Umbrella for Democratic Change, held a strong lead in the partial results, making it the leader of the next parliament. Then finally in sports, the head coach of Nigeria's under-18 handball team, Emeka Nnamani, has released his final list of players who will represent the country at the IHF Trophy Africa Men's Continental Phase in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The tournament will be held at the Ethiopian Sports Academy in Addis Ababa from today till November 6th. Ahead of the tournament, the national under-18 handball team has been undergoing intensive training and preparation under the watchful eyes of Nnamani and the assistant coach Joshua Olubato at the Rowe Park Sports Center in Yaba, Lagos. The team traveled yesterday through the Murtala Muhammed International Airport, Lagos, and the Nigerian delegation will be led by Abdulgar Mohammed, an executive board member of the Handball Federation of Nigeria, representing the Northeast Zone. The list of players includes top sharps such as Captain Farouk Karim alongside Aziz Olaito, who won the MVP of the Adova Handball Premier League 2023, and the goalkeeper Samuel Babori, all from Tojeli Academy. Remember that you can follow news and programs on ABS from any part of the world by liking our Facebook page at Anambra Broadcasting Service. Subscribe to our YouTube at Anambra at ABS Television, Oka. You can follow us on X at ABS Radio TV and on Instagram at ABS Radio TV. You can also log on to our website at www.absradiotv.com. Before we go, here are the main points again. We told you that the Anambra State Commissioner for Information has called on NUJ leadership to prioritize members' welfare. Stakeholders are thinking safety while calling for adequate security in schools. We also told you that the House of Representatives has demanded the inclusion of specific portfolios of ministerial nominees. In Botswana, the incumbent president has considered election defeat after 58 years of his party in power. And that's the news this morning. Thanks for joining us. I am David Opokwasile.